Swipe your phone. Like if you're on your phone, just swipe it.
I'm on an iPad. Oh, okay, I got it.
We're ready, Joe.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast here on Rio Sports Live. Kevin Narro, Mark Molina, and head coach of the San Perlita Trojans, Nataniel Garza, joins us. Special edition here on a night in which normally we're putting things away and we're finished, especially during this this time of our lives. But meeting just adjourns in Santa Rosa, and the vote was 4-3. And the breaking news was kind of as expected, a 4-3 vote not to renew the contract of the athletic director, and that's the basketball coach for the Santa Rosa Warriors. Mark Molina, you've had your pulse on this the last couple of days, and especially over the last 48 hours. Your feel just on how long has this been coming, and the community, how they react as best you can tell.
Oh, okay. Well, as I look at this in two ways. Of course, Mark Molina, the sports reporter, and then Mark Molina, the guy who lives in town here. But it's puzzling on both sides. And I feel it's been the last couple of years that this has been coming. There's been talks. It's no secret there's no love lost between certain people who may or may not reside on the board and Coach Cipriano. So I feel this has been coming down the line, and like I said, there's no rhyme or reason why this came out, at least nothing official. I spoke with the legal counsel for Santa Rosa Independent School District, and all they can tell me is really nothing. They don't discuss personnel matters. So as far as something on the record, concrete as a reason why they did this, we don't have that. And whether they will make a statement, it doesn't seem, just by that conversation this afternoon, that there will be. But yeah, as a guy who lives in this town, I could feel that it had been coming, that certain people don't get along, which is a simple run-of-the-mill small town politics. And you expect it, but for a man with his resume and the success that he's brought to a town who has little to no really successful athletic history, it's a surprise, and it's out of left field, and it's no matter what, even if you know that there's heat there, it's shocking. So.
Yeah, I know that going back over the years in my job as a reporter here in the RGV, the story that I hung on to for which always added another dimension to what Coach brought to Santa Rosa was the story on why he became a coach. His words, not mine, but his words, which if he were on right now, he could tell you. He was sitting on the bench as a senior in high school and was realizing that he was losing his last game. He had just played for his third coach while he was in high school. And he made the decision then, you know what? I'm going to come back as a coach, and I'm going to give stability to my community and to my school. And from there, winning and losing would take care of itself. And just from that perspective, guys, that's a story that is rarely told, that someone says, hey, I'm going to go back to my school where I attended, and I'm going to stay there forever. Coach Garza from San Perlita, I ask you this question. How many times had you heard Coach Sippy's name over the years that he could have his pick of most any coaching job he wanted that was open, but he stuck to his guns of, I want to stay in Santa Rosa?
You know what, Joe? I've heard that a lot of times, and Johnny's somebody that I occasionally talk to, and he's had opportunities that he can have, leave and go coach elsewhere, but kind of like to what you alluded to, he's mentioned to me that he loves the community of Santa Rosa, and he also mentioned to me, and not to the extent of what you just said, but back to his high school playing days, how he wanted to come back as a coach to give something better to the community from the time that he played. He wanted to make sure that he gave back to the community, an involvement in the program much better than than what he ever was involved in, and then I think the results from the last 20, 22 years, whatever it is now, really speaks for itself. So I can say that he does have a lot of pride in that Santa Rosa community for the kids. And he's an ambassador to the game of basketball, not only to the Valley, but to the state basketball. Santa Rosa is a program that everybody knows about. So he's done a tremendous job, and his heart is there, and he's always wanted to be there, and he doesn't want to leave. That's where he wants to be.
I know multiple times. And Mark, as when you put your reporter hat on, how many times had you heard that any opening that came, especially here in the Rio Grande Valley, if he wanted that job, schools would have taken him immediately?
Oh, no doubt. And you're talking about it. It's widely known that you can make an argument that Coach Cipriano is the best coach in the Rio Grande Valley, and I think programs know it. It's been hard. It's been hard just to pry him away. I feel if he would have wanted to go somewhere, I know there's a program 6 miles south of here that would have been happy to take him, but but he's just so loyal to the kids. You speak to the guy, and it's just I don't want to leave the kids. I don't want to, no matter what. Like, you think he said it a couple of times, you kind of just look at it or be like, okay, maybe this player's special. But every batch of kids that comes in, he was like, I like this batch of kids. I like this batch of kids. But you're looking at a guy who, and to go back to your point, how he said that he wanted to make stability. This is the only kind of stability that since I've been alive, the Santa Rosa's ever really had as far as athletics in any sport. They've never been successful more than a year or two in other sports max. And this is what he's done is unheard of. He's gone to the regional tournament 9 times, and a third of the time he's been there, he's won it. And he's not only taken a good program, but Santa Rosa is not an athlete machine. They're not churning out these, and a lot of the Valley really isn't. There's a lot of good coaches, there's a lot of heart, and there's a lot of players here that are going to work hard, and then they're going to overcome the height and the speed. But what Coach Cipriano has done is he's taken that tiny pool of Santa Rosa and he's made it bigger by inspiring the younger kids to pick up a basketball earlier and to want to dream to play for him. And that's what he's done. He's taken a small pool that you get with a small community and he's made it much bigger. And I think a lot of schools see that and are eager to see what he could do with a 5A, a 6A program that has already that deep pool of talent. And, for Santa Rosa, for him to stick around this long just speaks a lot to his character. And it's just, I personally just feel it's Santa Rosa made the wrong call, but if indeed they go through with it.
Yeah, again, let me clarify this. We were talking off the air on this. The board meeting, which adjourned, had the line item on there that this was the non-renewal of the contract of the athletic director. I didn't see any wording in there, basketball coach, but Mark, your belief is that's tied together, or does anyone on this, Coach Kevin, anyone, do you know if that's separated, or if that position, once it's eliminated, that basketball coaching job is gone too?
I'm getting a couple of text messages from a couple of sources saying that it's for both. And I was just re-looking at the proposal on the list, and it does only clarify that it's only for the athletic director position. But I'm still waiting on a couple more sources. But from what I understand right now, what some sources are telling me, that he did not get approved for both head basketball coach and the AD spot.
Wow, that's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. I feel even before he got the athletic director position, which is another thing that Santa Rosa dragged their feet on in the first place. They had always wanted to, from my understanding, wanted to tie an athletic director to their football coaching job, which to me I always thought was a mistake, because Santa Rosa, the size isn't there. Like, we're not going to build a football powerhouse, or to be that invested to want to be like, it doesn't matter how long you've been here, what you've done for the school, we're not going to promote you to AD because we want a football coach. And I felt they always dragged their feet on it. I think he's been there as the athletic director for the last 2 years. So, but I think this has been an issue before. Like I said, there's no love lost between him and some of the people. So I've heard,
Yeah, that was what I continually heard. If that's the case, and he's gone as a basketball coach, now, Coach Garza, where does that affect mostly as far as the Rio Grande Valley? Because when you measure basketball in the RGV, if you don't start there as the top program, you got to be close. So the immediate impact on that, what does that do?
Well, I mean, and just like you said, Joe, I mean, anytime you talk about the top programs in the Valley, you know, one of the first programs always mentioned is Santa Rosa. You know, they're a team that's been to the state tournament 3 times, multiple regional tournaments, went 3 rounds deep this year. And I know, you know, 3 rounds deep to some programs, you know, it's an accomplishment regardless, but I know in Coach Cipriano's eyes, 3rd round, you know, he wants to do better, you know, you know, they're a staple, and they're somebody kind of the blueprint to where, you know, when they got to the regional tournament last year with pretty much a brand new squad, they're pretty much a blueprint that we took when we lost. You know, I'm talking about my team when we lost 6 to graduation last year, and we had almost a brand new team this year. You know, they're pretty much, and I told my players, I said, if Coach Cipriano and Santa Rosa can get to the regional tournament with pretty much a brand new team, why not us? So what I think, and this is just solely from a basketball perspective. Again, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors or so on and so forth, but they've given the Valley hope that a Valley team, and I know there's been teams like Edinburgh Valley get to the state tournament, but the way Santa Rosa has done it on a consistent basis, going to a state tournament a couple of years ago, and then going with the Leo Lara generation, and then going back when Leo Lara graduated and AB and that group, and into the regional tournament, they've given a lot of Valley programs hope that us too can get to the state tournament, that if they can do it, why not us? So I think, you know, and a lot of it didn't come easy. He's been at it for 20, 22 years. And I know I've told myself, you know, if Santa Rosa has done it, why not us? And if if that's a belief that I have for my program, I know there's a lot of programs out there that have said the same thing. So I think not only does you know, the kids at Santa Rosa and the community, and those kids love playing for Coach Cipriano, you know, and he's done a great job for that basketball program. But they also do so much more outside of Santa Rosa, from just making Valley teams believe that they can also get to the state tournament because they've done it. So why not us?
You know, I look at this development here, and so often, you know, when we're talking about Coach of the Year over and over in the media after 30 plus years of doing this, some of the criteria used is first and foremost wins, losses, how far did your team advance, but eventually you get down to breaking down how a coach is able to take what's given to him on a specific year and mold that into a competitive team that's successful. Many will say the program, Mark, is so loaded with talent, young to old, that insert any coach. And Kevin, you can chime in here because I'll allude to San Benito softball, that when Coach Elias Martinez left for Harlingen South, there were many that said, well, that program's so strong, any coach, insert the coach, they're going to do the same thing that he has. Similar situation here that, Mark, I know you've been in that gym. I've been in that gym during the summer times, and Coach, you too have witnessed when those doors open and the way that program was built. Yes, there are people, there are parents, there are coaches that are taking kids in summer ball and that are taking them and getting them experience. But Coach Cipriano did something a little different. He opened that gym up and made sure that former players came in to play with the young kids, to bring them along. No, he couldn't coach them, but he could open the doors. And I think that's completely lost here. If that wasn't weighed in, that this is not insert a coach and Santa Rosa is going to continue to be successful. Mark, talent's there, but there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just a high school program. You look at it, it's from the high school all the way down to the middle school, and even beyond that. And these kids are motivated now more than ever since these last couple of state trips. they're picking up basketballs earlier, and then it just fueled a lot once he started winning about 10 years ago. I don't know how long this performance center has been, the community center has been there, but a lot of it was geared towards, there's basketball fever now, and Coach Cipriano brought that to the town. And I think the program that he has, I don't know if we'll see the effects of Coach Cipriano missing right away, because I think that the program is so solid that he has built for middle school. But I definitely for sure do not think that that they will be the same kind of team without his guidance, because no matter what, you still go into these playoff games and the kids are smaller. Maybe they're a step slower than some of the talent that they're playing. You saw in the London game last year against Goliad, they beat a team with 10 seniors who was gunning for Santa Rosa, because I think they had ended their season like a couple of times. So they were more determined. They were taller. They were faster. And Santa Rosa just, I don't know what's in the water here. And there's nothing in the water. People ask. It's all Coach Cipriano. It's all the defensive schemes he puts in, identifies who his shooters are, just the way he messes with his lineup during the game. There's so much strategy that goes in there, and he just outcoaches these programs who have, in my eyes, you look at them just when they're doing the national anthem, you look at them, you're like, there's no way. Look, they're taller, they have the height advantage, they're faster, they have more upperclassmen. And every time Santa Rosa comes out here and they go basket for basket, and they're a regional power. There's a lot of good basketball programs in the Valley. There's elite basketball programs in the Valley, but are there any other teams that you can say that's a regional power year in and year out? And in my opinion, I don't think so.
So Coach, you got him this year. You were able to notch a victory against that team. Walk me through preparing to play that team, and then walk me through halftime, and then walk me through finishing that game. How many times you had to adjust coaching and play the game of chess against a coach?
And Joe, that's playing Santa Rosa. I've played Johnny and Santa Rosa for the past 4 or 5 years. Maybe I didn't play them 1 year in between, but one thing I've always looked forward to that game, and a lot of it has to do with it's two good programs going at it, but I also know Coach Cipriano's going to have his team ready. He always has his team ready. He's going to have us well scouted. He's going to know our tendencies. He's gonna know what we like to do, so that's gonna force me to, get better myself, and again, this past game that we played at the AT&T Center, we make runs and he'd adjust and he'd make runs. So I knew that I had to be on the balls of my feet, because if I just did the same thing the whole game, he was gonna beat me. And again, there's some games that you can just go the whole 32 minutes doing the same thing and you're gonna win. But I know I can't do that against Santa Rosa and Coach Cipriano, because for one, those kids play really hard. They play with heart, they believe. And I know a lot of it has to do with the leadership of that program. But going into halftime, I think we were up 3. And at halftime, I know Coach Cipriano was talking to his team, making adjustments, trying to see what he can do to stop me. So I'm thinking, okay, I know he's coming with the counter. What do I got to do to counter his counter? And if he counters that, then what am I going to do? So going into the third quarter, I got about 3 different things that I'm thinking that, okay, he might do this, and if he does this, I got to do that. But I know he's thinking the same thing. I got him this year, but he's gotten the better of me for the most part. But I've always looked forward to that game, because it's going to get my team better. And my team looks forward to that game because they know they're going up against, like Mark said, one of the regional powerhouses, in Region 4, and then myself, I look forward to it because I know that I'm going up against arguably one of the best coaches, or the best coach in the Valley, in Coach Cipriano, and so it's going to get my team better, and it's going to get myself better, And going back to this year, like Mark was saying, playing, they went 3 rounds deep, and unfortunately they came across a very powerful London team. And again, basketball math doesn't always work, but then they go and play Randolph, which y'all know is one of the best teams in the state, and London was right neck and neck with Randolph. So Santa Rosa this year, even though they didn't get to regional tournament, they were still right there with the best in the state. So it's always fun playing Santa Rosa.
And Coach, let's go to that London game. You got to see them in a prep game before your playoff run began. So, as Mark was saying, when you match them up, man to man, Santa Rosa versus London, on paper, one would say there's no chance, but yet he gave that team a chance, and that was coaching.
Right. We played both teams, and we played London in a warm up game right before the playoffs started, and you know, London's a team that had a lot of length, a lot of speed, and like you said, on paper, you would think, and you know, Santa Rosa's a lot smaller, they're a step slower. But if there's one thing that we've learned, especially with the year that after Leo Lara graduated, they had AB and that crew, and then the following year when they came with a Brady team and got to regionals. If it's one thing that we've come to learn, is that somehow, some way, they always find a way. You can never count them out. And Joe, I remember hearing stories when Leo Lara graduated. Joe, people questioned if they would even win their own district. People said, I don't think they're going to win district this year. You know, and they got to state. And then the following year, the same thing. You know, the same thing with CJ and that group, and how they were so young. And then again, getting questioned. You know, a team that just went back-to-back state tournaments, and now they're getting questions if they're gonna win their own district again.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, Mark, let me flip this over to you. It's been speculation all the way up until nearly 10 o'clock tonight, and now, or 9 o'clock tonight, and now suddenly the speculation switches gears. Speculation is, who in the world steps in to that spot? Does the search go out of the area? Is it insert someone from Santa Rosa? I don't care who you are. Those are big shoes to fill. And, you know, where do they go from there?
My guess, honestly, if you look at it, I don't know. You would probably look internally maybe at first, because I don't know how much stock people are going to take in. It's the kids, it's the community. You know that there's so much talent here. I don't know how many coaches are going to look at that and be like, that's a great job for me to take, or a lot of them are they going to look at it as be like, look what he did. Like, can I do that with them? What he's done for since 2002, 2001, 2002. The man's made the playoffs 18 straight years. Only 1 year did he fail to not win a playoff game. 9 and took him to the regional tournament half the time and won it a third of the time. Those are big shoes to fill. I don't know if it's going to be hard for people to want to come in and do what he's done with this community. Like I said, talented kids here, but the pool is not that deep for premier talent. And I don't know if this is going to even bleed over for the school in general. Like, there's people saying that, you know, enrollment might even struggle because of this. I know it sounds silly, but what if kids love playing for this man so much, and now they see, hey, I can't play for him, and they don't want to play for another coach, or they just want to go up the road and play for another program altogether. I don't know what this is gonna do. I don't know where the domino effect is gonna go. But if I were Santa Rosa, I would probably go out of state if I were them, or out of the area, and try to find somebody who would come in here and, you know, just do their thing and try to mold whatever's left behind. And it's not going to be an easy task, I don't believe.
You know, Joe, one strategy I think that they could do is, you mentioned, you know, Elias Martinez earlier, the legacy he left in San Benito, talking about making trips to state. Santa Rosa could maybe go look for someone outside of the Valley, because the fact being, whoever is from the Valley would have to come in, and we would know that person. The community would know that person. They'd be familiar with that person, and that person would always be under the shadow of Johnny. And if they go with someone outside of the Valley, that person, you know, the burden isn't as much on them as it would be a local coach, because they may not have had a relationship with Coach Cipriano, and the burden might not be as big to carry, because I know that was heavy in San Benito. You know, they went local coach right after Coach Martinez left, and it was always, you've done this, but Coach Martinez did that. So maybe just by going outside of the Valley might work better suiting that next coach and who it's going to be. And that was my next question was, all right, the board got what they wanted and got rid of Coach Cipriano. Now who are you going to bring in? And what coach in the Valley is willing to come in and really fill in those shoes?
And just the way this is done, I think really affects the hiring process as well. You look at a man, 16 straight district titles, the 3 state tournament appearances, 9 regional tournaments. Twice he went 4 years in a row to the regional tournament, 2 different times. And he's coming off another great coaching job, went 3 deep, another district title, and then he gets let go. How is the next coach going to come in here and not be constantly looking over their shoulder? It's just a puzzling situation. And unless Santa Rosa addresses it head on and gives a reasoning that they can back, that's completely legitimate, it's going to be hard to get anybody in here who's going to want to put up with this and probably figure that it's more trouble than it's worth. So just the way it's done, it muddied the waters for them a little bit. So we'll see what kind of domino effect this has.
Coach, I'll get to you in just a second on that. Kevin, compare this, if you will, on a basketball perspective. Does this compare to trying to replace Ed Vela once the Vela situation happened in recent history? It's the only other team that made it to state, and then you have to insert new coach. Is it close?
No, it's two separate situations. Obviously with that, we know the situation with Lalo Rios, but as far as the magnitude of it, I believe so. And since then, I mean, we know Vela went to 3 more Sweet 16 appearances, but they've also funneled through 2 or 3 more coaches. Is that what may happen in Santa Rosa? We're just going to have to wait and see. But as far as the magnitude of it, I really believe so. And, since then, I believe, Vela's been through 2 or 3 coaches since then. And it really hasn't been the same. And, granted, Vela is a 6A program where their numbers are always going to be high. But, it could be right around the same. And, again, Lalo and Johnny were the only 2 that have made it to state. And, I was talking with a couple people from Harlingen, and they were asking about this whole situation. And I said, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal around the Valley. I said, it's as if Manny Gomez were to be removed from his job, we'd be probably having the same conversation here because of the magnitude of who the person is and the impact they've had on the community. And when you guys were talking about earlier, how Mark was talking about the program and everything it's been through, some people, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't believe in that. I believe it's solely on what Coach Cipriano has done. And, speaking with him, and I've told you this before, Joe, I think, Nate, I've told you this, where he said one of the greatest quotes I've heard probably ever from a coach is that, when people think the pieces move themselves, when it's just based on players and athletics or at their athleticism, Johnny's like, those are the coaches and the people I like to coach against because they think the pieces move themselves. And I think that couldn't have been said any better because I'm a firm believer that players respond to their coaches. And no matter how bad the season may be, the players are going to respond and they're going to fight for their coach. And I think we saw that last year when we didn't expect this team, we didn't expect much of them when they made the regional tournament. We saw that again this year when they made the 3rd round. They just happened to run into a buzzsaw that was Corpus Christi London. They were the better team that night, but Mark and I were there that night. In that 3rd quarter, they were in that game because of coaching. And we know a couple years ago when they went to state, they had no business beating London. But, AB went off for his 40 points and Sippy just pulled all the right strings. And I think that year, the 2018 season, was probably arguably some of his best work because that year there was no Leo Lara and they weren't expected to even win their district, let alone make it to the 3rd round. And, they end up making state. And, just to see Cipriano when they won the region, myself and a couple of reporters there were getting ready to interview him. And he just asked us for a minute. He had tears in his eyes. He asked us for a minute and he stepped away. And that we just saw how much that game meant to him, how much that season meant to him on him winning that game. I had never seen that a coach, be full of tears and ask to have a minute and then come talk to us later. But, that just speaks to his passion and, where that team was that year and just where the expectation was. And really, they just proved everyone wrong.
So Coach, going to the question on, Santa Rosa obviously is going to have a basketball team next year. They're going to have players. This search, from a coach's perspective, when you've talked to other coaches who have been talking about, hey, this job is open, how are they going to look at this one? How do you start to process that? If you're a coach out of the area, obviously you know about Santa Rosa, but what do you weigh in here as looking at this as far as the pieces that are there, the pressure that's going to come with it? There's a lot of things to put on the table there.
Right. No, there is, Joe, and first and foremost, I mean, it's considered a high-profile job. It's considered one of the top jobs in the state and the valley. But there's a lot of things that come with it, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions as far as, okay, well, and again, I don't know, but just from a performance standpoint, Santa Rosa wins. They've won state tournament, regional tournament, multiple regional tournament appearances. But I know, well, why did he get let go? What, he won, but he got let go. What was the reason? So I really can't say, what can go through another coach's mind. There's a lot of great coaches out there. I know there'll be some interest, but I don't know if like some of y'all have said, the pressure, Johnny's somebody that could, that wins and he got let go. So what does that mean for job security for the next coach? There's a lot of things that come with it, but it'll. I don't know where they go from here, but it'll be interesting.
Oh, did we lose Joe? Oh, there.
Yeah, I froze up there for just a minute. I'm back.
It's frozen just a little bit. You back?
We're back. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. I apologize there, guys. I'm on the thinnest line here on my internet here at the house, trying to keep things going. Mark, as far as Johnny Cipriano, have you ever had a discussion with him? Where would you go if you left here? I know I haven't, because it was always quickly ended with, my loyalty's here. My loyalty's, my daughter goes to school right here. My family's here. I'm from here. Where does he could probably punch his ticket where he wants to go. But have you ever heard that discussion?
I mean, obviously the ideal place and the one that, everybody's kind of said in fun, like, kind of rubbed elbows about, La Feria. I mean, we've seen there's good athletes that come out of there. Their basketball team hasn't, been, performed all that well, especially in recent years. Do you take a chance and pounce on them, especially right down the road? And I mean, this community already looks at La Feria as a big rivalry. I don't get that, but the people here in the community do, and might be one of those bittersweet things. Like I said, in my opinion, that's something he might eye, but I don't know how realistic it is. But as far as that, yeah, I always get the same thing. My loyalty's here for the kids. I don't think I've ever had a serious conversation of where he would want to coach if he did get let go or left.
There was some speculation when the Harlingen job did open up, but again, that was all just rumors. But that was probably as close as to maybe even thinking a what if scenario. The Harlingen job, and then a couple years ago, the PSJ High job before Nick Rodriguez took over that program. But again, those are just speculations, and that was as close as I got as to maybe even having a serious conversation with Coach, maybe even leaving then. But again, like Mark said, it was always the same. The loyalty is to Santa Rosa, but that was the close I got.
And that's the closest I ever got. Coach, in your dealings with Johnny Cipriano, was there ever a discussion of, from him saying this would be a neat job to think about?
Never. He never entertained, as far as when I would talk to him, he never entertained other jobs, never looked at other jobs. He and like you said, I mean, whenever that conversation came up, it ended quickly and said, hey, he's committed at Santa Rosa, and that's he's always been committed to providing for those kids. And, you know, those kids play really hard for them. So like you said, I mean, that I've never ever, when I talk to him, he's never ever entertained any idea as far as seriously going anywhere else.
Well, Mark Molina, let's go to that on the kids. CJ Olivares today spoke at that board meeting, and evidently it was an emotional speech that he gave before that vote.
Yeah, and I know that of all the players are taking it hard. Believe me, a lot of the players around the team are just taking it really hard. And him in particular, I know he came on a really young kid, and maybe early on in the season, maybe he took his bumps, but that kid gained confidence. And I talked to Coach Stefano about that kid, and they talked and they worked on it, and that kid just gained a bunch of confidence. And you saw what he did during his freshman year, and he was a big part of the reason why Santa Rosa was able to go back to the regional tournament. That's a really talented kid, but he puts a lot of stock in his relationship with Coach Cipriano. You can see it, and it's going to be hard to maybe at first to get these kids to come out here and play with the same kind of will, because I feel they think their community betrayed them, and not listening to them, and who knows what's going through those kids' minds if they feel that they've been lobbying since this came out over the last week, the rumors and then the actual agenda when it came out. I feel these kids thought they were slighted. You can see it in the emotion and all over social media, hashtag Team CP. Like, I feel all these kids just wanted their voices heard, and I don't believe they feel they were heard. And I just think there's going to be a lot of hurt between some of those players and the community, and that maybe it's not all the kids. I'm not sure about that. I don't know the kids personally, their relationship with the coach, but I know it's a lot of the starting kids, the higher profile kids that you know about, that you read about the most. So I don't know. I just feel that some of these kids feel let down, and that's going to resonate with them most. So we'll see.
My phone's going crazy, by the way, of people calling and trying to get my input on this. If you're trying to call me, or if you know someone that is, just tune in. This is our take from it, from where to go. 4-3 the vote. So let's just talk about from the community perspective. It's social distancing time, but Mark Molina, it wasn't too much social distancing. It was social gathering as best they could for Santa Rosa. A 4-3 vote isn't necessarily going to clear the air at all in the community.
No, I mean, sure, the board is split, but I don't, like I said, as a guy who lives here, I don't know how much those 4 votes actually carry as far as the community, because as soon as this was announced, I saw a bunch of Team CP stuff just explode. And I just think if this community was divided, this is just gonna drive a wedge even more. And the thing was, you had people who, everybody's related to everybody here in a small town. You had people on both sides who members who are maybe either related to members of the board and or have kids that are really close with the coach, you know, on both sides. But more than not, even these people were siding with Coach Cipriano because of what he brings and the way he's had an impact on their children. So I think the community, as well as the players, feel slighted and feels that they weren't heard, because they put that petition together in a hurry, and I think it's at least by now over 1,000 signatures and clicks or whatnot. And it's just the support that came out is just shows where the community's allegiances lie. And if people weren't there signing, people were passing by and honking, you would think somebody won a state championship or something. But it was just crazy to see. But you know, it's also a breath of fresh air to see the community come together for something. Unfortunately, it's against each other. So I don't know. It was just tough to see the last couple of days. And like I said, the community, I feel, is going to feel slighted after.
I know one thing that I would like to know, and that is, I know that you personally spoke to the legal representation prior to this meeting, and they were letting you know that They weren't going to be able to give any reasoning whatsoever. So anyone that's putting that out there, let's clear the air. There is no official reason that's been released, and they're not going to, according to the legal team. Now,
As
from
far as
that
I know, they might put a press release.
From that
later.
perspective, is there a possible appeal to a decision like this? Or does that ever come into play?
Well, there's going to be an appeal, then Santa Rosa, and they're going to have to present some sort of legitimate reasoning, I would think. I don't know. I don't very much know the legal system too well, but I mean, even in a contract year, can you still consider it like a wrongful termination? I mean, just I don't know where this goes. I don't know where we go from here. But does he want to appeal? Does he want to come back to this community?
Well,
That's the question.
Yeah, that's
So,
a big question there. Coach,
So I don't know.
Coach, as you look at a community divided, in your coaching experience, you ever seen anything like this that's taking place right here, right now?
No, I obviously we hear stories of coaches being let go, and there's usually, again, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but there's usually some kind of reason that goes out there why, backing up their decision. In this case, there isn't, but I've never seen anything to where a coach gets let go with the tremendous of success, and not only as a basketball coach, but I know he had a lot of pride in all the other programs as well. I know the girls program made the playoffs. I know football was competitive. Volleyball is always a competitive squad. He had a lot of pride also in his AD duties as well. Me and him, we would exchange conversations as far as AD aspects from an AD standpoint, and not just basketball. When we'd have conversations, and he would take a lot of pride from that aspect as well. So again, I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I really haven't seen anything like this.
I actually texted AD today, and he just simply said, we should not have to be going through this. So Mark, you mentioned, about some of these kids who have kind of made it public with their thoughts and with their feelings, and we just had AB and Leo on our show about a week and a half ago, and half the show was about Coach Sippy and the things he did and the impact that he had. And if you guys were able to sit and listen at the beginning of the meeting, someone came on there and spoke and made it clear. He's like, my dad was a drug addict, and my dad was never around. It was always Coach Sippy. He said, Coach Sippy gave me money to go to the McDonald's to get food. Sippy was always there for me growing up, and that's when and then CJ Olivares came on later with a message. And there was a mother on there of her boys who played in Santa Rosa, who she had a strong message. So, I think, like Mark said, it was good to see the community rally around, and really just a lot of positives on trying to support their coach.
Because of all of that, Mark, just how much pressure now is on the board itself? If they're not going to say anything right now, how hot are the coals going to get under their feet before someone's going to have to release a reason?
Oh, scorching. I mean, they're on hot coals even once they put his name on that agenda. Like, this is not only the face of Santa Rosa athletics. In my opinion, this is the face of the town. This is what Santa Rosa is known for. It's rare that little towns make a name for themselves all over the state. Santa Rosa has this in bunches because of basketball. People, you even see the voters in the TABC for the basketball poll every year. A lot of those writers are from up north. You rarely see schools from down here, but year in and year out, who's in there? Santa Rosa. And then by mid-season to the end of the season, whenever they round up in the mid-season form, Santa Rosa's top 5. You see them consistently. And they made a name for themselves, and everybody, these Region 4 teams, they build their team to beat Santa Rosa. That's what people don't understand. They gun for Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa, other teams have good seasons, and other teams come out and they'll beat Santa Rosa maybe in the regional tournament. They have big years, but as far as the consistency, I haven't seen it in Region 4. Maybe Cole and Randolph, but those teams are just always chock full of talent. So in this region, Santa Rosa, it has a target on their back, and that only comes if you're well known. And this town is well known and it's because of their basketball.
Do you think this vote was easier to make for the ones that voted nay because of social distancing, Mark?
You mean the ones who voted in favor of not renewing them?
Yes.
I think, again, this is Mark Molina, not the reporter.
Right.
I think
Yes.
this is the perfect time to do that because they don't have to look these people in the eye. They don't have to listen to the whispers or the uproar right in front of them. They are going to have a chance to collect themselves once they go to sleep tonight, and then they're going to deal with the backlash of the community. But I think, looking at it, reading it is a lot better than making the decision and have people. I don't know how they would have reacted, but I'm sure it wouldn't have been kindly. I don't know the proper etiquette at a school board meeting, but if ever there was going to be people, speaking out and getting upset, this looks like it would have been one of the reasons, one of the times. So, I mean, I think the pressure is definitely on the school board, especially when elections come around. So, I mean, that they better get somebody in here, and Santa Rosa better keep winning because everybody's going to look back on this. And like I said, in my opinion, this isn't the first time Santa Rosa's made the wrong call in terms of coaching personnel. There's been turnover everywhere else besides basketball, and maybe volleyball also. But the teams never have any consistency, and that's what he brought. That's what he always wanted to bring, and now they've lost that with him being gone. So, yeah, there's going to be pressure for this train not to slow down, but I don't see it not. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks or months leading up to finding a replacement. But yes, I think the situation with the shelter in place really made this a lot easier for some of them.
Coach, prior to this, I was looking at how we were going to define this basketball season for the RGV, and the biggest thing was the what ifs. What if the ball bounces a couple of ways for a couple of teams, a couple of players aren't injured and they can move forward? And it was the season of what ifs. And then it became, well, it's the season that didn't have a definitive end because there was no all-star game. There was no way to recognize and to honor the seniors that were going out. But now with this, is this the defining moment for RGV basketball for this year?
I sure hope it's not. You would, and again, just from an athletic perspective and a basketball perspective, you would hope that this is not the way it ends or it's the defining moment. Never want it to be in a negative fashion or manner, and who knows where Coach Cipriano goes from here, if he appeals, if he doesn't. I hope there's something good that comes out of this, and I know for one, those kids at Santa Rosa deserve it, and again, we've played them for the past 5 years, Joe, and those are some amazing kids and they play extremely hard for him. So I can understand, not that I can understand, but I can just imagine of what they're going through. They've been so used to just one coach and playing so hard for him and now, especially now with the whole quarantine situation, with just maybe barely getting used to this new way of quarantining and social distancing, now to go through another transition like that. And back to what Mark said a while ago, I know there's a lot of junior high kids that all they talk about is they can't wait to get to high school to play for Coach Cipriano. So, and again, these are just things that I hear. So I sure hope, with the way, like you said, the what ifs and the injuries and not having a state tournament, I sure hope this isn't the defining moment for RGV basketball. I really don't.
There's no bigger story. In my opinion, this is the biggest story of the basketball season. There was a lot of teams that made the regional tournaments, and there was a big story there. But I think, unfortunately, this story it's bigger. And just for the fact of who it is, his resume, what he's done for this town and Valley basketball. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't want that to be it, but people are going to remember this first.
Well, let me use the word resume there to go back and revisit something. We talked about the what if stuff where he may go. Where would Coach Cipriano, he stopped if he opened the doors to college openings. Mark, your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, that's people I've seen on social media, people have said, hey, he should go and knock on some college jobs. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to explore that realm. You know, maybe a program that's down and maybe just wants to inject something different into them. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of South Texas jobs that, you know, that they get a lot of good transfers, they get a lot of good players that they come in and from the JUCO level and come along and they have the right pieces, and then they automatically make runs. And maybe it'll take the right coach. Who knows? I mean, you've seen what A&M Commerce has done once they get the right influx of athletes in football and basketball. I mean, they had successful runs. I mean, why can't you get an influx from a solid coach who knows a lot of the South Texas area coaches and stuff? So I mean, he'd do well recruiting, especially down here. I'm sure he knows a lot of people. I'm sure you do too, Coach. You know, coaches from San Antonio on down, maybe a little bit higher in that area. I'm sure you know a lot of people in the basketball community, and I'm sure they know you, and everybody knows each other. Why not bring in the basketball coach who had 16 straight district titles and 3 state appearances with the Valley School? So, I mean, crazier things have happened, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. As far as that goes, again, it's just there's so many what ifs, and the unknown is, and I'm going to pound this into the ground. The unknown is we do not know the reason why the vote even happened, why this was on there. We have people that have told us off the record that this was a vendetta that has been going on for a couple of years. We've had this, we've had that, we've had everything in the world, but the what ifs are the worst part. Coach, how long did it take for the coaching community to catch wind that this was potentially going to happen?
Fast, Joe. I mean, I was in just yesterday alone, I don't know how many text messages and phone calls that I received. If I knew anything and why this was going on and why it was happening, you know, and you know, I really don't. I don't know, again, what's going on behind closed doors, but it really, you know, not only in the Valley, Joe. I mean, I had people from out of the Valley contacting me, you know, and the first thing they would say, hey, what's going on with Coach CP? You know, and, you know, what's going on with him there? And, you know, and just kind of concerned about him and just trying to support him and rally around him, you know, as a coaching community. So it spread really fast, Joe.
Kevin, I know you had a chance to talk to CP probably last amongst us on this panel here. And I know he had said he wasn't going to be able to comment on this, but how long do you see this going, A, before the board has to come up with some reasoning, and B, before we start hearing from Coach Cipriano on his take on this?
You know, when you start using the word legal when it comes to coaching, it's unusual. You know, and you know, I know like everyone here on this show has good relationships with Coach Cipriano, and you know, this first came to me about a week ago when I got the agenda. And when I saw it was highlighted Coach Cipriano's name, I think Mark and Joe, you guys are my first phone calls. And I said, let me reach out to him and let me see what he can, you know, if he has anything he could share. And of course, he just said that he was legally advised not to say anything. So I was even thinking of giving Coach Cipriano the opportunity of coming on here, but knowing what we know now, it was best that we didn't. But knowing him, I think maybe, you know, a week or maybe a little bit more than that until he comes out, until he's ready to talk, because I know his phone's probably blowing up as well. But you know, like Coach Garza or like the both of you said, your phones have been going off, wondering what's going on. That had been the case with me, the same thing. I've had coaches within the district and coaches from around the Valley just call and ask and wonder what was going on. And, you know, basically I told them what we know. But knowing Coach Cipriano, I know he'll face the music, so to speak, and he'll come out and he'll speak with us sooner rather than later. But a guy like him, it won't take very long to find a position. And then the crazy thing is as of right now, Joe, there are no basketball jobs open in the Valley as of today. So that's just the big question. Where will he go next? Does he take a year off? Does he explore Corpus? Because I know Corpus Christi Miller, Corpus Christi Moody, those schools up there have good relationships with Coach Cipriano. And does the Coastal Bend reach out? Teams that are on the brink of making state runs, like Miller this year, they were an extremely good team. To add Coach Cipriano to that group, if I were to make a prediction, I would think the Coastal Bend would be a good fit for him.
I would have to agree. And like I said, I just want to make it clear that if the board did have a legitimate reason and there's something that hasn't come out or whatever, fine, all the more power to them. But if they keep mum about this and just say it was for a strictly performance, or they want to go in a different direction, or they don't say anything, I mean, it's just got to be egg on the face of a school district that already has a couple of black eyes from over the year. So I mean, I don't know, if they don't have anything legitimate, the school looks sillier than it has in recent memory.
It's not only a black eye on the school, but it's a black eye on Valley basketball. If it's not justified the way Mark says it, if there's not a legitimate reason, then it truly is a black eye on basketball. Because I mean, you guys know I made it public. I'm not a basketball guru by any means, but being around Coach Cipriano, being able to appreciate the things he's done, and being able to see the differences he's made, and from a coaching standpoint as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Coach. Coach, any thoughts there as far as anything we haven't touched base on regarding the situation? And I know Johnny's as competitive as anyone, so if he had a chance to be talking right now, he wouldn't shy away. That's for certain.
No, yeah, and I agree with you, Joe. And again, just like kind of like what Mark said, we really don't know what the district's reasoning is for this. For me personally, I can only speak from a performance aspect, and the respect that Johnny has from the coaching community, the basketball community. Again, I don't, for performance wise, I mean, he's extremely consistent. Like Mark said, district titles and regional appearances, so I guess, kind of like what Kevin said, I guess we'll have to wait and see and see what unfolds in the next couple of weeks. Up to now, this is I mean, we don't know what's really going on aside from Johnny getting reassigned, but it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, and again, fans that are watching here, and there's plenty, and I do appreciate each and every one of you that are watching this. Make no mistake about it. There is talking about Coach Cipriano and the basketball and how it's affected basketball, and then there's the reasons why his contract wasn't renewed tonight. We can talk all day about basketball, and that's why I brought the guys on with me that can talk the basketball aspect. We're not getting into the other side of it because, frankly, we don't know. So if you're just tuning in, we're not going to get into the speculation game. Never have, never will. We'll respond once reasoning is given, if it's given, and we'll move forward on that. But we're talking on the basketball perspective, and I think that this was important to be able to talk about how it affected basketball players from past, basketball players currently, and future basketball players coming in, coaches alike. I won't name any names. I was watching just like you guys were as the meeting was going on in Santa Rosa. And Kevin, you could play the name game on coaches that you saw there that were watching that thing too. So the interest was there. It affects basketball in the Rio Grande Valley. Doggone it, I wish we could get in gyms tomorrow because I think it would make it a little easier to go through something like this. But Coach, doors being closed, you can't get in a gym. You can't even go address your players. If you could, would you?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I'm going crazy just being quarantined at home. And I'll tell you this, Joe, I was at work today for the first time for equipment pickup for the first time in weeks. And it was amazing just being able just to get a glimpse of my athletes, as they were just passing by, turning in equipment, and that's just, seeing them, I would love to get in, open the doors and have open gym and get up and down and then just have that smell of that basketball and Joe, Kevin, how passionate we are with our open gyms and I know Johnny's the same way. And when speaking to Johnny a couple of weeks ago, he was going crazy with quarantine as well. He's a gym rat. He wants to be in the gym, but I can't wait for all of this to pass over and get going to doing what we do.
Well, we'll talk about the healing process as we talk about the basketball players currently on the roster that didn't graduate. When you lose at a regional tournament, Coach, the fastest healing happens when you can get back in the gym and get into the summertime. So talk about just the psyche of the players trying to go through that now without a coach.
Well, and kind of like what I alluded to earlier, is now the transition, with especially with those kids not being in the gym right now, losing in the third round. We're talking about a program that's used to going to the regional tournament, used to going to the state tournament. So even, third round's a great accomplishment, but in Santa Rosa's eyes and those players' eyes, they want to get to the state tournament. They want to get to the regional tournament. So, with this transition, they're going into more of an unknown than what they already are right now with the whole quarantine situation. With the new coach, the new style, and the what ifs. So if they would have, again, if let's say Johnny would have stayed, they would have had that peace of mind, the same system, the same coach, the same coach they love to play for. So again, and that's a squad that had, I want to say, I might be mistaken, but had a lot of those kids are coming back. I know CJ's back. I know a couple of other kids are back. That's going to be another good squad next year.
Yeah, I don't think they really have. I think maybe 2 or 3, Kevin. I'm not really sure. I don't have the roster, but I think all their core is definitely coming back, and that's a good thing because their district, even though they've been winning district titles and averaging like 40-point average margin of victory for like the last close to 10 years, that hasn't done him any favors going into the playoffs, which makes everything he's done way more impressive. But the district right now is no slouch. You saw the emergence of Jubilee. Idea Frontier's always pretty solid. They exchanged punches for a little while, and Lyford, not too far from here. I think now, I think it's evened out with the exit of Coach Tigrano. I honestly think things are a little bit more even, and honestly, Santa Rosa taking a share of the district title this year with the really sharing it with a good Jubilee squad. That's a good squad out there, guys. Don't get it wrong. Like some of those kids, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of those were grandfathered in when they were still a charter school. So now that's a talent from the area. So Santa Rosa was able to take one game from them and share a district title. That in and of itself, I think, is very impressive, especially with the young squad that they have.
Yeah, when that team was on, Mark, that Jubilee team, they were in our tournament. When that team was on, they were a very, very dangerous squad. We're talking about shooting from the volleyball line, and they could hit it. So Brownsville Jubilee is a very, very good squad.
Yeah, there's not many teams.
Very well coached.
Not many teams that come into your gym that can match shooting distance. But you're right, Coach. On a couple of games we broadcast there, they were stepping out, and it would have been a heck of a horse game to see who could extend the range.
Absolutely.
Joe,
I know I've been your ear for over an hour here, guys, and I appreciate you all joining in here on this and joining me here. Mark, I'm going to ask you 2 closing statements here, if you will. One, put the Mark Molina reporter hat on, and then take that off and give me the Mark Molina, this happened in my community hat.
Honestly, I think they're very close. The reporter Mark Molina wants an explanation on the record. Let me get that clear. I want an explanation on the record. I want it to be legitimate. And the reporter Mark Molina says if they come out with something that it's legitimate, something behind the scenes, and it's one of those, hey, we're going to gift you a resignation and instead of firing. It's one of those things, and they have actual cause. Maybe, it's something that's not related to basketball. Fine. That I just want an explanation. I don't want anything being brushed under the rug. I just want an explanation. But even until then, this is very puzzling, and Santa Rosa doesn't come out looking good at all until we get an explanation. If we get one, fine. That's great. I can accept that. I can live with that. And the board's doing their duty. If they feel they want to, if it's what's best for the community and it's legitimate, fine. Mark, who lives in the community, who hears the rumblings and, hears different stories here and there, it's a shame. It's a shame for us because I've grown up here, and growing up, the most exciting thing for the community was driving 6 miles down the road to get handed a 40-point loss from a rival. And now, hey, basketball Tuesdays and Friday nights, that gym is always packed. It was so amazing to see. And then if the rumors that's going around are true, even though I live in the community, I don't know what's true. I don't know if it's just hearsay. But if it is true, it's very sad, and it just feels very ugly that people would act in such a way. So I think on both ends, I think Santa Rosa got it wrong, but based off what I know right now.
Coach, let me ask you to put a couple of hats on. First of all, as a basketball coach and the RGV, any final thoughts there? And secondly, as a friend of Coach Cipriano, final thoughts regarding tonight.
Well, from a coaching aspect, and I know from the community, he has the respect of every single coach in the Valley, and a lot of it's his work ethic, his accomplishments. Joe, he's a coach that when he has his kids playing in the summer league, coaches don't have to attend that. He's at every single summer league game for his kids, and that shows a lot to his kids that he's there every single game, whether they play at 8 or 9 p.m. He's there for those kids, and I remember, I'll tell a quick story. I remember a couple of years back, we played at their place, and like Mark alluded to, that place was packed and it was loud. After the game, we took a while to get out of the locker room, and we when we were coming out, there was a kid waiting for a ride home, and it was well way after the varsity game, and Johnny was not going to leave literally by his side until that kid got picked up, and it's not like Johnny was waiting for him inside the gym or at a distance. He was, it looked like he was really just having a great conversation with him until he got picked up, and you could see the respect there. And he does it, going to this year, when we first arranged our game to play at the AT&T Center, behind closed doors, it's a lot of work from both districts, the setting the tickets, and it's a lot of hassle. But the first thing he told me was like, hey, he called me and said, hey, coach, you want to play at the AT&T Center? And I said, hey, let's do it. And he mainly wanted to do it for his team and his kids. He wanted those kids to get the opportunity to play on that floor and then to see an NBA game. And if my kids are still talking about it to this day, and they talk about it as something that they're never going to forget, it's the same thing with his squad. The time that he took away from his own family and his own kids to take his second family up to the AT&T Center and his team and spend the night over there, and take them and have them under his watch for that long. He did it for the kids, and he, for word told me that he wanted to give that experience to the kids, he's and like you say, he's the ultimate competitor, and I always loved playing against him because I knew he was going to bring it. And again, going back to that same game, and I know a lot of people have said how he beats people by 40, 50 points. I remember that game, it was the Leo Lara team, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I don't care about how much you're winning. I said, we're playing you to get better at breaking the press. So I don't care if you're beating us by 50 in the fourth quarter. You keep pressing us. I said, because we want to get better at breaking the press. That's because I wanted to compete and I wanted to get better. And ever since then, we've kind of established a relationship. So as his friend and as a colleague, knowing the time and the passion that he puts into this. I hope it all works. Again, we're not speculating anything. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but as his friend and his colleague, I really hope things go his way and something pans out for him, whether it's there in Santa Rosa or outside of that community of Santa Rosa. I really do hope, he something good comes out for him.
Kevin, your final thoughts.
Yeah, like Mark said, as a reporter, my concern is obviously the pandemic that we're in is just how long will this coaching search go on for? Because right now, Port Isabel needs a head coach and athletic director, and I've talked with sources there, and they've said that they're just putting all that on pause right now. So how much does that affect now and in the coming months? Obviously, with the uncertainty that we're in right now, is just how is Santa Rosa going to go about looking for a new coach? How are they going to handle the interviews? When will this basketball coach then know a timeline on when they can see their kids? When can they work out with these kids? Because by the time you know it, we're going to be in October. October comes, September, we're already getting ready for basketball season. So that's my main concern as a reporter, is just when and how will this next hiring process go, and just how long will it take? Or will they put a pause on it and see what goes from there? But on the flip side of it, obviously I'm not from Santa Rosa, but we've all of us here have spent a lot of time together with Coach Cipriano. Nate, UI and Sippy actually sat, or Joe, we were all sitting at the AT&T Center at the table out there in the lobby. We let the kids go up there and do their thing, and I think that was the most I probably ever talked basketball. But also being around him and just seeing the influence that he has, and he's just like you said, an ultimate competitor, just a really good person to be around as far as the media goes. He doesn't shy away from anything. He wants to be asked the good questions, and he'll tell you if you're asking a dumb question or a mediocre question. He'll let you know. But he's one of the best to be around. And again, it's not only a black eye on Santa Rosa, but it's just a black eye on RGV basketball in a whole.
All good points there. I'll throw in a couple of things real quick before I close this down. And, I find myself every time, Kevin, you put me on one of these panels, I look around and I know I'm the oldest guy here. And I've been around sports for a long, long time. And I don't complain about it. I try to use it to my advantage. And so therefore, I've been around some high profile basketball programs that have lost coaches for whatever reason. And the thing that I can say most that perhaps is the challenge is, first of all, to the players. You want to honor the coach, then you go out and you play the way that he showed you to play, and you take the same intensity that you were brought up with from the players before. That honors your coach. All the complaining in the world won't bring a coach back if you're a player that's coming back into the fold at Santa Rosa. Community. You can focus on the kids that are there. They're still going to be wearing a Santa Rosa uniform. Channel your energy into supporting the players and the team, because any energy that's channeled in towards, well, it should be this coach, it should be this coach, isn't going to benefit your program, i.e. your school. You can support Coach Cipriano wherever he goes. I certainly will. As a reporter, he was top notch, 100%. Any question I ever asked him, he never backed away. Anytime I asked for a player, he provided that player. Anytime I asked for access to broadcast one of his games, he allowed that. My funny insert there is, I even asked him when we first started broadcasting his games, do you want me to pull them because they may be scouting you? And he said, I hope they're scouting me, Joe. You keep every game on and make sure they watch it twice. That is until Ryan Perez hit a shot and sent him into the regional finals. And then he called me and he's like, hey, I don't need you calling my plays out, Joe. You called that play. And I was like, coach. He goes, no, I need you to pull all my games. And so that was a funny thing. But again, my appreciation was to Coach Cipriano for always being there, top notch, 100%. But again, the healing process, and there is going to be a healing process in Santa Rosa. If indeed Coach Cipriano is not renewed as a basketball coach. And again, maybe because I'm the oldest guy and I rooted for the St. Louis football Cardinals back when they played, and I always tried to figure out a way that they could still be in the playoffs. I'm still going to hope until someone tells me that that was definitive basketball and AD. I'm still going to hope someone calls me and says, hey, Joe, they removed the AD, but they offered him a basketball coach, and we're all talking about Santa Rosa being coached by Cipriano. If it's not, again, the challenge is we have to heal, and you can't take it out on the kids. It's a fan's prerogative, and you can second guess a coach all you want, and they do. But don't take it out on the kids. Please don't take it out on the Santa Rosa school district and the kids, because again, coach, I'm going to fire one more thing back at you. These kids come around and you've got them for 4 years, and then they're gone. And so this 4 years, you don't have to waste a year from a fan, from a school, from anyone's perspective of bringing them down because they're not playing for a certain coach. And I think that's the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, and like you said, we have these kids for 4 years, and kind of like what you said, you know, regardless of what coach is there, you want to give the best experience to these kids through the duration of their 4 years in high school, you know, and just support them and kind of like what you said, you know, channel the energy to those kids, because those kids, I'm telling you, they play hard. They're amazing kids. You know, they're very, very competitive. They resemble their coach a lot in that way. So, you know, they play hard. That's one game that we always highlight in our schedule, because we know they're going to come after us and they're going to be prepared. And a lot of it is because of coach, you know. So, you know, like I guess we can, like you said, you know, hopefully, you know, maybe there's some kind of, it was just the AD title, and you know, he's still the basketball coach, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. Again, Mark, Coach Nataniel Garza, Kevin Narro, thanks for joining us for this. Fans who tuned in, I appreciate you all hanging in there with us as we provide whatever sports coverage we can for you. You know, I'm as anxious as any human being on this planet. If someone goes and plays a game of checkers and I can put a camera on it and announce it, I'm going to be there. We're going to broadcast that. So again, thanks for being here with us, fans. And guys, again, any final thoughts? Otherwise, we'll close it down.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
You bet. Thanks again, fans. Tune in. Kevin's got a terrific lineup for the rest of the week. And again, you see the sponsors that are running in the background. Those guys are actually trying to still pay our bills. Hacienda Ford, South Padre Island, and you see the sponsors on the back. I got to throw that out there. It's trying times, to say the least, when you're a broadcast company that depends on commercials and you can't run something. Again, thanks for tuning in. Tune in for Kevin's shows. Until I'm Joe Bowley for Real Sports Live. Good night, everybody.
Joe.